back to the 5 O'Clock Sweats podcast. As always, I'm Ryan, joined by both of my handsome buddies.
Whoa, how do we do this one? I'm Derek.
Oh, yeah, I'm Chris, but we'll see if this camera holds up.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll figure it out.
Chris, it's been so long since the three of us been together that Chris missed his cue. But it's all good. Just shaking off the rust a little bit.
Nah.
Dude, it has
ready.
been a while.
I
don't remember the last time I spoke to you. It's been a little bit, but...
because we try to agree on a date, and then something happens, and then I can't do it, and then you guys are like, we have this in the bank, like this topic, and then you do that, and then, and then Ryan's like, oh, let's do a sports episode, and then he recruits me, but then you can't do it, or, maybe it's not something for you to comment on, so it's like, we've kind of been playing musical chairs here, podcast guests.
And now the audience knows a lot about the anime that I'm watching.
Yes, they do. But we made it work.
Cause and effect.
We've made it work, though. And as Derek had alluded to in a previous episode, we were eventually going to talk about John Wick 1 and 2 specifically, chapters 1 and 2 specifically. And that time has arrived.
It's now. Congratulations.
It is now.
Arrived.
Congratulations. You've made it. You are going to be a different person after listening to this episode. That's quite the promise.
Technically not true, not untrue.
Yeah, that's true. You might unsubscribe from a podcast after listening to this, or if you're new, maybe you'll subscribe. Or at the very least, you might want to go watch John Wick 1 and 2, because we are going to sink our teeth into these movies, and goddamn, these are both bangers.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Gosh, y'all. I know you two had seen, what, all four of them together? Or no, just the fourth one together when it came out, right?
We did. We watched it in theaters, and it was quite the experience. We enjoyed ourselves tremendously. I
think of the three of us, I think I was the one that kind of tried to get you guys on board, right?
Yeah.
I know, Derek, it took a little more time. Ryan, I don't remember if you had seen them on your own or if I was like, yeah, you got to sit down and watch these.
Yeah, I feel like you probably nudged me in the right direction a little bit. I definitely didn't see the first one when it first came out. It definitely took a little bit of like that snowball effect of like, oh, this movie's good. Keep hearing good things about it. It's getting good reviews. And then you in my ear saying, oh, you got to watch this. And I know you're a big action movie guy, so I hold your opinion on this genre specifically very, very highly. So,
well,
yeah.
Funny enough, though, to that point, I'm not going to act like this originally came from me, because I was really skeptical about this movie, and I had not seen John Wick 1. I believe it came out in 14? Yeah. 2014.
Yeah, 14.
Right. And I probably saw it in like 15 or 16, like on demand. So friend of the podcast, Nick, turned me onto this movie, and I'll be honest. The name of the movie, I was like, what the hell is John Wick? Who is John Wick? And then
what's a John?
What's
a Wick?
Is this a penis one?
It's like
I don't know. It just felt like it was going to be like corny, and little did I know what I was getting into and how it would pretty much change my my view on movies, really. And I think it kind of put me on to a new genre, and we've referenced this in previous podcast episodes, but I think we can kind of call John Wick, gun fu. Is I think the best way to describe it. And I didn't know I needed that until I saw John Wick.
Yeah, I don't know what like the closest thing to John Wick that I've seen was before this, but I feel like now there's really nothing that I would think about to compare it to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I mean the franchise I think of is the Matrix franchise. Obviously, you got the Keanu Reeves connection. Got Lawrence Fishburne in there, but that was like the first original gun fu movie.
Yeah, and I think that like that really took like the choreography, like the gunfight choreography to the next level. So I agree in that sense. But I think there's like few movies that just go this kind of over the top, and they're totally made just to be like fun. Obviously, there's like pretty much nothing that happens in these movies is, you know, believable or realistic, but it's almost like they just know what the audience wants, which now they do. But, you know, we could talk about John Wick 1, but I think, you know, what I had said to you guys, you know, before we started the episode was this movie felt very much like a proof of concept to kind of feel out, like, is there even an audience for this level of action, like douchebaggery kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. This and the funny thing is with this movie is like this could have been just like its own standalone movie. It didn't need sequels. I mean, yes, there were maybe some questions that the audience had after the movie's over, like wanting more backstory on like the Continental or like the Guild of Assassins. Like, who are these people? Like, what exactly do they do? But if there were no more movies after this, like this could have been a very fine standalone movie. And I would have been fine with those questions not being answered, because why do they need to be? Like, we got what we wanted.
Yeah.
And we had like on the surface a happy ending to this movie.
Yeah, he gets a new dog.
Yeah.
Spoiler. Shoot.
Yes.
Yeah. Spoiler on a 10-year-old movie.
Yeah. By the way,
I hate that math. That's bad.
2014, baby. What a year that was. Halo 4 came out. That's the first thing I think of.
Oh, wow.
Standing in line for Halo 4. Yeah, but you mentioned the dog, and I was watching this movie with my girlfriend, and I just said, like, this dog, or, you know, it's more than the second one, but the dog is a great dog actor. Like, it's such a good boy.
I know.
Such a good boy.
Well, I think too, like, you know, with the dog, I think obviously, like, most people can relate, you know, to like at least liking dogs, whether you have one or not. But I think it adds kind of like a new twist on the revenge killing. You know what I mean? Obviously, you know, it has to do with like, you know, his home and his wife and everything. But like it's like literally like, if you wanted to sum this movie up in the shortest possible way, you could say it's a dude that goes and kills everyone because they killed his dog.
I think that's literally the description of the movie. Or
Yeah.
there was one website that had that as the description of the movie. Like,
which I think is fucking awesome, because I don't need a whole lot of like backstory as to why somebody goes on a killing spree, but like I think avenging your dog's death is like that's probably like the number one reason.
Yeah, who wouldn't be behind that? I'd be more
Exactly.
behind that than behind just like a human getting murdered, like a relative. Like, I'm more emotionally attached to the dog, so that motivation is perfect for me. That's all I need. I'm in.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, like, we'll dive into chapter 1. I wanted to just bring up, I think this is interesting really quick, because I wanted to look up the scores of these movies. Like, what did they get on Rotten Tomatoes? What did they get on IMDb? So Rotten Tomatoes has John Wick Chapter 1 sitting at an 86% critics rating, which I think that's fair, and I think that's actually higher than I would expect for like an action movie like this.
It
With a
feels
pretty
right.
bare bones plot. Yeah, like,
It's kind of gut feeling.
yeah, that feels good. I feel like that's high, but an only 81% audience score, which I'm actually surprised at. I think that's low. I think that's pretty low, actually.
Yeah, I would have expected the audience score to be higher than the critic score.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel like everybody loves these movies.
Well,
I guess
I
not.
think if you look at the trend, I think the audience score goes up each movie. And that's what I was saying. I think John Wick 1 is probably like, it's the most important because it kickstarted everything. But I would say it's like the least heavy-handed in terms of like the action and the kills. Like, it still is very over the top, but they figured out what people wanted, and then they like leaned into it more and more as the films went on. but you can see the difference in John Wick 1. And I can see why maybe the scores aren't quite like, as high as you'd expect, because, it was sort of like a taste testing.
Yeah.
Huh. That sounds familiar.
So maybe we can talk about the legend of John Wick, because I feel like that's what we got a lot of in the first movie. That's where you start to hear like, I once saw him kill 3 men in a bar with a pencil.
Yeah. So they do a great job kind of setting up him without just not even. What I love is they don't show him really doing anything, but you hear other people talk about him, and you can hear the way they're talking.
Yeah,
this guy means
the
business.
Legend of John Wick, right? His name has meaning. His name has something behind it. And as the audience, like, that is all we know. We know that he's fucking capable of some shit, but we don't know what it is yet. And
exactly,
boy, howdy, do we find out. Almost immediately.
It kind of feels like he's more of like, rather than like a human being in flesh and blood, it feels like he's more kind of like an entity. And like, even if when you look at like where he lives, like you never really, it's a very kind of vague, like, where is this house? And like, even the home is very like sterile, and it's just like, you don't really get like a read on his personality. And I think that's like, intended, is you just know, where you start to learn that, he's very skilled at killing, kind of like, what does Liam Neeson say in Taken?
I have a very particular set of skills.
Yeah, particular skills.
Exactly. So it's kind of like that vibe. But you're right, you do. And even past this movie, you continue to, like, people talk about him before he shows up, kind of thing. So he's almost like, like Batman or something like that.
Exactly. That's why I think I still got like the most of that out of the first movie. Because it's like, he killed a man with a pencil. That comes up, like 2 or 3 times in the first 2 movies. You get the fact that they straight up call him the Baba Yaga. Like that, that's just right on the tin. Like, he is somebody to be feared. And,
I have a quote here from the movie. So Vigo, who's one of the main antagonists in the first one, he calls him. He says, "Yes, John Wick is." One guy says, "Oh yeah, they call him the Boogeyman," and then Vigo's like, "He's actually more of like the guy you send to kill the Boogeyman."
Yeah,
which was like, "Oh shit, this man means business." And then he goes on to tell the story about the killing 3 guys with a pencil, and then another quote that I love in the same scene. He says, "John Wick is a man of focus, commitment, and sheer will." Oh man,
I love that. You were gonna say the line that I wrote down, which is, "John will come for you. You will do nothing because you can do nothing."
Yeah.
I feel like that's all you need to know. Right?
Yeah. They make him sound supernatural in a way. Like, he kind of like, if you watch the movies, like, he kind of is like a Michael Myers type. Like, he just seems to not die. He just avoids death at every turn.
He's so good at it too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think in the second movie, there's a quote, something about like, like the stories you've heard of John Wick, if anything, are watered down.
Oh yeah.
So like, he has this like mystique. It's almost like it kind of reminded me of like the Chuck Norris quotes. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my god, what year is it? Holy shit!
You know what I mean? Though
he's roundhouse kicking people, or like, I used to know so many of those. I've
I don't know any of them, but you know what I mean. Like, that's the kind of vibe you get. Is like, he's just such a legend.
Yeah.
Or like,
super cool. And I think that Keanu himself shows it off, like in that first fight in his house. Because I think we brought it up in a previous episode, but like, Keanu did all of the training so that he could do all of the stunts for his character in the movie. So like, him moving throughout that house in that first, 20 minutes? Like, it's exactly as terrifying as it should be, because he's actually fucking like performing nearly exactly what he should be doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think like I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and he did and for every movie he did this. He also did this for The Matrix too, but like he apparently trains very hard for his movies, like you were saying, to do the stunts. But he did like a ton of like weapons training, and I think this was like the first movie that I have ever seen, and then the first kind of like series of movies where there's like such a crazy focus on like the technical aspect of like handling the weapon, like not just the gun fights themselves, but the way in which he's holding weapons, using weapons, reloading weapons, switching weapons. Like there's just like a crazy amount of like technicality, and like I don't know. I think that that's probably for me like my favorite part of the movie is the weapons, but just the way in which he's able to manipulate them. I don't think there's an actor that would do that so well. I mean, think about it. Like he probably, I've never counted, but like his amount of dialogue is like very like Keanu probably has less than like 50 lines in the movie. That is probably an exaggeration, but I swear to God, like all the talking is done with his guns, which is really cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back.
I'm back. Yeah, he's a man of few words, but that just like suits Keanu. Like he's never really played a guy that is, a very talkative character. And to his benefit, I'm not going to stand here and say that Keanu Reeves is the greatest actor on earth and that, he's an Oscar worthy actor. I don't think he has that ability in him, but for a role like Neo in The Matrix, he is just absolutely perfect. So
he's like the ultimate one-liner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Never had a guy just say no, and it just sounds so cool. just no. That's all he's got to say.
No. Period.
There was the line. So a line towards the end of the first movie, when Vigo captures John, and he has him in the chair. And then John has a line, like a couple of lines actually. This is like probably the most spoken dialogue consecutively that he has in any of the movies, or at least that I can remember. But he tells Vigo, and he says he's like, people keep asking if I'm back, so yeah, I'd say that I am. So you can either hand over your son, or you can die screaming alongside him. And just like the way he delivers that line is just so fucking good. Like he's yelling, and it just sounds so like animalistic. Like you can just feel the pain, and like he just wants to harm these people so bad. Like he just wants nothing more than for them to just pay for what they did to him.
Yeah, and somebody sweeps in to save the day there. Maybe now's a good time to talk about some of the other standout characters over these first two movies. I mean, the first one we got to bring up is Willem Dafoe, right?
Yeah. Completely forgot he was in this movie because that's been a couple years since I've seen it. But
he just kind of shows up, and you're like,
shows up in the beginning.
Okay, he's like here or whatever, and then he shoots his gun a bunch, and you're like, who's he trying to hit? And then you figure it out, and then suddenly there's no more Willem Dafoe.
Oh, there you go. Right, he does have like a fairly brutal death. Like they like beat his ass, and then he's like laying down on the steps there, and then they just shoot him a bunch of times. Like,
but he went out like a badass too, because he's sitting there and he's like the Vigo has him, and he's gonna basically torture him, I guess, because Vigo had hired him to kill John Wick,
and then he helped him.
He ended up helping him, But then he's like, I'm gonna go out on my own terms, and he gets up and fights everybody, and then like forces Vigo to shoot him, basically.
Yeah. And he's literally like spitting blood everywhere.
I go out on my own.
Yeah. And then Vigo's like, I respect it. He basically was like, I respect what you just did.
Willem Dafoe's character was a real one. He helped John out in the Continental when Perkins was sneaking up on him.
Yeah, he shot the pillow. That was really smart.
Yeah.
So he could have just shot her, but instead shoots the pillow. Like, okay.
First viewing, I'm sure there were a lot of people that are like, oh, is Willem Dafoe just like a bad shot? He missed. He
Yeah,
looked like he was
that.
targeted right on him, and he hit him. He hit the pillow to his left.
Yeah, he's
Like
such a like specialized assassin, but he just about misses everything he tries to shoot. It's like Darkness from Konosuba.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I was thinking of too. That's so funny.
It's got
so
stormtrooper aim.
Yeah.
I
would
wonder
say
if he was trying not to kill Perkins. I wonder if he was making John do it so that he wouldn't be in trouble with the Continental.
I'm sure. Otherwise, like that, because that would be the only explanation for that. Otherwise, he should have just shot her. But
Yeah.
I think he just wanted to watch him fight. Like we wanted to watch them fight. I think he too just wanted to see John Wick in action.
could be it. Could be it.
It's been
I
a
would say
while.
though, personally, like talking about other characters in the movie besides John Wick, in Chapter 1, I like Winston. I like Winston throughout the movies.
Oh,
but
Winston's great.
Yeah.
he's very much like I don't know. I always kind of felt like he was like the referee for like the whole underground society. You know what I mean? As the manager of the Continental.
Yeah. He's very like he kind of is like a father figure to John a little bit. Like I do feel that like kind of paternal instinct within Winston towards John. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like he specifically cares about John more than maybe the other assassins underneath him.
I do feel that, but I also feel like he gives more kindergarten teacher vibes than father vibes.
Okay.
Because it feels like he's just trying to run the whole operation.
Yeah.
And like whatever he says goes. And if one of the kids steps out of line, like he's all over it.
That's more accurate actually. He's more of like a teacher or like some sort of like a kindergarten teacher or any teacher, and John just happens to be like his favorite student. Even the way
to look at it.
Even the way he just says his name, Jonathan.
Jonathan.
Like Mr. Anderson, but Jonathan.
That is true.
Yeah.
It's funny to think, though, character-wise, there's like just a lot, but not a lot at the same time.
There's a lot of like assassins or like people that show up for a couple minutes and then die.
Yeah. I like Charon. Lance Reddick's character.
Oh yeah,
yes.
So
R.I.P.,
fucking
man.
Cool, dude.
R.I.P.
Huh?
Well, I mean, we'll get to this, but he gets even cooler down the line.
Oh, in real life.
Yeah, he's no longer with us, unfortunately.
Rough. Okay.
Yeah, so he won't be appearing in the next John Wick movie if there is one. But yeah, he's great in these movies. He plays his role perfectly fine. Like that's exactly what. He does exactly what he needs to do.
I'll just say this because I don't think you've seen these yet, but he gets more camera time, and
he does.
I'm about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I've still yet to see 3 and 4. So that is forthcoming.
So real quick, I wanted to tap into your brains and see from John Wick 1, which of the many fight sequences do you think was either of your favorites?
I know we talked about this off mic just before we started recording, but I really do like that scene in the club where he's trying to get to Alfie Allen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because the music's just bumping and they're just casually having like a gunfight in the middle of a club.
Dude, I thought like I literally was like, when I saw that the first time, I out loud was like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah,
they're 1 foot away from people just shooting each other. Like,
I know. So
there's
sick.
no collateral damage whatsoever.
But John Wick, I mean, there's a trend in these movies in that there's going to be a action sequence taking place in a club, in a crowded club. That just seems to be in every. I think it literally is in every movie. There is a club sequence. But yeah, I love that scene too. But it starts when they're in the the pool area, right?
Oh yeah, like the spa sauna type area.
Yeah, I like the music they
like,
played.
Yeah,
the music during that scene particularly is good, and then it gets more into like the club EDM music when they get out of that spot.
Yeah, I think what's interesting too is in terms of like the fight sequences, you notice that like they don't use practical effects for the actual like blood splatter and gunshots.
Yeah.
it's very obviously CGI'd, so it's kind of funny at times. Like guys are getting lit up, and you just don't see like anything on their body, but you just see blood flying. It is, I think it's done purposefully, but it's pretty funny to see. It reminded me of like The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead used to do that with a lot of the gore. It would be like very CGI'd. Yeah. And sometimes I felt like it didn't work well, but I felt like in John Wick it just did.
Yeah, I think it was actually fine. I didn't really notice the CGI too much. Like, I feel like it was, like you said, intentionally a little over the top, but like not cartoony. It still felt real enough.
Yeah, it's it's very noticeable in John Wick. It like all the blood splatters CGI, and you could just tell like probably most of what's going on like when they're filming is like pretty quiet. You know what I mean? Like I would assume there's not even like real like gunshots. Like they're just like acting like they're shooting. You know what I mean? Yeah. I would be pretty interested to see like a behind the scenes there because it's probably like it sounds like there's like tap dancing going on. It's like a ballet.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I want to look that up when we're done.
I don't know, there's a lot of little details, but that was one of the things I picked up on, and I always wondered like what if they went the like Tarantino route, like way over the top with the gore. Like remember Django, that the scene, the blood, the balls were literally just covered in blood. Like I always thought like that might be an interesting take, but I don't think it fits the aesthetic.
No, I feel like, I mean, as much as this franchise, at least through the first two movies, is, I don't know, it seems a little comic booky, like definitely like kind of supposed to lean into that a little bit, but I don't think like Tarantino level of gore would suit the franchise. I feel like what we have is perfect.
Yeah, and I think the aesthetic is it's a very like clean aesthetic, right? Even the choreography of the fights and everything is very clean, and is same with the visuals. It's there's not a whole lot of stuff going on.
The movies are beautiful
splatter wise.
Splatter wise.
But I think for me, my favorite fight sequence was, and I'm gonna throw a little like kind of like Easter egg out, but at the end there, like on the dock, like or the whatever the shipping container area, like that whole area. I just like he's like literally like running people over with his car, like shooting out the broken door. It's like crazy.
I found that like that entire sequence pretty hilarious, actually. Like it's badass, but like Vigo is like he's like getting shit faced in the back of the car. He's smoking a cigar. He's like, of course he's here. Like of course he won't die. Like he's like I'm gonna fucking die. Like this is it. Like why do I even care anymore? Let's just have some fun with it. Like. Well, he's got what's his face in the front seat, and that guy's from the commercials. What's that?
Hold on.
Go ahead.
That's what I wanted to say. So that guy is Mayhem from the Allstate commercials.
Did he get that role through these movies?
Yeah,
I don't know, but I cannot take it seriously at all, because he's literally like in all of the commercials. He's in like some banged up crash scene with smoke and shit in the background. Like I literally felt like part of the movie was an Allstate commercial.
Yeah, I feel like he was. Yeah, I feel like in those commercials he's playing like an ironic version of his character in this movie, because his character's kind of a bitch in this movie.
Yeah,
like just putting it out there. Like I don't know. I actually want to look into like his backstory. Like who is this character? Like I'm sure there's like John Wick wiki that. Or like a fan page that has like a whole backstory for this dude.
If it's not called John Wiki, then something's wrong with the world.
I know. I agree with you.
What a letdown, yeah. But I mean, that's my favorite fight sequence, and partially because Mayhem from the Allstate commercials is in it. It just feels like, and like they're beating the hell out of that car. It just kind of feels like a weird, like car insurance plug.
Dude, how much of this budget went towards just like the cars that they're just destroying in these movies?
Oh my god, dude! Well, we can talk about his car going into the second movie, but and the club scene I think was very iconic because you sort of got to see like how unrealistic a lot of the fighting was going to be. And then like one of my favorite parts is when he gets thrown over like the balcony and he just lands on the dance floor on his back. Like, dude is just like straight up like, well, actually those suits, right? They're like supposed to be like protective in some way.
Right.
To what degree, I don't know, but
they're
they're using suits to block bullets. I don't know if I believe that, but
it's got material between the fabrics. You know.
He's plating
listen,
up.
Yeah,
it's better explained in the second one, actually.
It is much better. It's like a whole like, oh, so we're just doing that, is what I said in watching the first movie.
But, yeah, I feel like maybe now's a good time to talk about the Continental itself.
Okay.
So in the first one, we figure out the Continental is kind of like the home base for, I don't even know if we know the name of this organization in the first.
It would be like the underground.
Isn't it the High Table? I think they say it, or maybe they don't call it the High Table, but they say something about like the table. I think.
In the second one, there's definitely talks about the High Table, because that's where the dude wanted to have his sister beef it.
Yeah.
And then,
well, the High Table is essentially like all the like heads of like the crime families.
Right.
True.
And then this is just like a retainer of mercenaries, right? Assassins.
Yeah, pretty much. In a very nice, what seems like a very nice hotel. But the big thing is they always say the Continental is like sacred ground, so no business, so no killing can happen on Continental grounds, which we quickly see people don't follow the rules.
Yeah, we see Wick versus Perkins again after Willem Dafoe just kind of shoots a pillow. We get, what else? We get Perkins versus
the other guy,
the other dude,
who she puts the pillow over his head and shoots him.
Poor that poor guy, Harry, I think his name.
Yeah, but Harry's another assassin. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know. Like he's in on it, but like
he wasn't just like
he
wasn't just a poor guy.
No, I know, but like the dude gets like. He gets like a minute of screen time. John Wick's like, "Can you babysit this person?
This crazy chick."
Gives him a coin. Yeah, can you babysit this unconscious crazy chick? And here's a coin for your trouble. And he's just sitting there, and he just beefs it. Like I kind of felt bad for him. Poor Harry.
Yeah, you learn some of the neutrality stuff, right? Like Chris said, no business happens on premises. And I feel like we get a lot of that in the second movie, especially.
Yeah, there's a very like business ethic, like professionalism amongst like the assassins. Like they can sit next to one another at the bar, and then 10 minutes later in the movie, they're like shooting each other.
Yeah, it's so cool. I like that it's all kind of coded in that. Like it's like kayfabe or whatever.
Yeah, the first movie, I mean, the Continental, the way it's portrayed in the first movie is it's like it's like an iceberg, basically. Like you have the surface, the above water part of the iceberg, which is the New York version of the Continental in the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
But as you learn in the second one, especially, but man, that iceberg underneath the water is huge. Like there's a lot more than what meets the eye when you're seeing the Continental in the first one. And you kind of get that sense like, oh, this operation's a lot larger than what they're letting on in this movie. Like there's little breadcrumbs being laid for it. But
the second one, we see some of the services the Continental provides. I mean, granted, that was the Continental Rome or something like that.
Yeah, that was specifically Rome. Yeah,
I think we see how it's an international operation.
Yeah.
So should we kind of like segue into the second movie and start talking about chapter 2?
I feel like I feel like there may be a couple more things we can talk about for the first one, or I don't know, maybe just general conversation about John Wick in general. But really quick, I wanted to talk about my favorite scene, and it is the club scene, which I mean that's the iconic scene, so of course, and it's the most like aesthetically pleasing to the eye. But I don't know. I liked that the club was called the Red Circle Club or Red Circle, and it kind of has like the imagery of like because they're basically trying to set a trap for John Wick to like Vigo purposefully has his son there and like has it become like public knowledge amongst like the Continental folk that, oh yeah, my son's here, and this is basically we're setting a trap for John. So let's lure John in here. And the red circle imagery is kind of like we're putting like a piece of cheese inside of this red circle for the mouse to come get it. So I don't know, just they meant like little metaphoric shit like that, and not that this is like a common theme throughout the movies, but it was just very on the nose, which I actually liked that. I thought that was pretty neat.
I interpreted it as like the red circle, like the sight of like a gun, and like they're putting basically like John Wick in their sights, so to speak. That's kind of like how I interpreted that, but I see what you mean too. That's actually a pretty good point.
Yours is more in the theming of the movie. Gun sights, yes, that makes a lot more sense.
It's literally in the red dot.
But yeah, I mean, just rewatching the first movie and specifically the action scenes, like I just want to like take a couple minutes and just talk about like how well these action scenes are shot. Like it's so refreshing to watch a movie like this where there's so much like hand-to-hand combat, like up close and personal, like white knuckled action, and it's not like egregious shaky cam. Like I don't get a headache from watching these movies. Like I can actually see what's happening. I can see the choreography. Like I can see, this guy's getting punched, this person's getting kicked, this person's getting shot. Like I know everything that's happening on the screen. It's not messy. It's beautifully shot. You know, it's really well done, really well shot, really well choreographed, just the whole thing. And it's not painful to watch. That's the biggest compliment I can give it.
I think the gunfights are the most artistic that I've seen in any movie. And, you know, like I had mentioned kind of before, like even the way he's reloading weapons, how he's switching to other weapons. We see, you know, in a later movie, you know, specifically like stashing weapons to kind of flow with how the gunfight progresses. You'll see in some of the movies too how he kind of improvises with the environment, or you know, weapons that can be kind of at his disposal around him. I think they just do a very good job of being creative. The kills get a little bit crazier down the line, and I'm not gonna like give any away, but there's a lot of kills that are not even with weapons, things that you would consider a weapon. Really.
There's one kill in particular in the first one, because I already know what my favorite kill in the second one is. But in the first one, it's at the last action sequence at the dock where he hits the guy with the car, and as he's going over the roof, he's shooting him through the roof. You remember that?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I thought that was sick. Like the guy is just like he hits him with the car, he's rolling over the roof, and as he's rolling over the roof, John Wick is shooting through the ceiling, and he's getting hit with bullets while he's falling over the car. I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty sick. They took some liberties there.
They do a lot of that, actually. And there's a lot of also like multitasking kills where like he's tied up with one person, and then like, you know what I mean? Then he's like shooting, you know what I mean? Exactly, shooting another, like weird angles too, and like, you know, not things that you would typically see. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The last kill too, or the Vigo kill at the end, where Derek, he pulls a Stark from Free Run, where he allows himself to get stabbed so he can bring Vigo in closer, breaks his arm, takes the knife, and then stabs him with it. Like, so fucking badass. He's like, I know I can tank this stab wound, but I just need this fucking knife. And then he just, and then he kills Vigo.
Well, there's a lot of that. I mean, I think like there should be some kind of tracker for like damage that John Wick takes throughout all of the movies, because this guy probably should have died 95 times over.
Yeah.
Dude is just like, he must just have an insane amount of blood in his body because he's constantly bleeding.
Well, he's got his bulletproof suit on.
Yeah, and then like you know, even the way he like heals himself, right? He like still like do like patchwork to himself and like staple himself and shit.
Yeah, that's something I've written down. Like stapling himself back together with veterinary supplies goes hard.
Yeah.
Like his recoverability in these movies is insane. Well, I guess technically he's not even recovered and healed. He's just like stapled together, and they're like, don't move too much or you could like rip open again. He's like, yeah, okay. And he does it anyway.
Yeah, the one guy patches him up. He stitches his abdominal wound. And he's like, "Well, your stitches could if you decide to start fighting again or working again, your stitches will open and you will bleed and it will hurt." That's another thing I love about these movies and John Wick's character is that we talked about in the beginning that he's talked about as like basically being like a supernatural being, like that he's death incarnate, like he is coming for you. There's nothing you can do. But man, this guy is human. Like he's fucking human. Like you can clearly tell, like he is taking a lot of damage during these fights. Like he's hurting, he's bleeding, he's limping. You know, his bones are getting broken. He's not just like he is a tank, but he is not, and he is an unstoppable force. But he is human, and he can be killed. It just takes a lot more to kill him than your average person.
It's all because of that dog, man. He's just motivated, is what it is.
Yeah,
it's just sheer will.
Sheer fucking will. And he also, there's a nice little shot where you can see him popping some painkillers before one of the big action sequences, which I liked. All right, John Wick Chapter 2. We have a nice ending with the first one. John Wick has a new dog, cute little pit bull. They're walking home, and literally the last shot of the movie is them walking back home. And then we still had some unfinished business, though, because if you recall from the first movie, they stole his car. What happened to that car? Well, we find out in the second one, the very first action sequence. Yeah, this is arguably my favorite scene in the whole movie. But yeah, he's infiltrating the Russian base where they're stowing, where they're keeping his car. He gets his car and proceeds to he just fucks it up. It just gets so unbelievably trashed.
Dude, I love that part. It was like at the end of it, I was like, what was the point of going to get it if that's what you were going to do? Like the thing, doesn't he like the doors come off the windshield?
Yeah,
he has to like kick the windshield out. Like
he uses the door. He opens the door to hit somebody, like he reverses and then opens the door and it hits him, and then the door breaks off.
Yeah, there's not a lot of car left at the end.
No. But this is also where my favorite kill between both these movies, my favorite kill happens. It's when he reverses the car and then does the spin and hits the guy with the back of his car, and he goes into the pillar.
Oh,
I don't know if you remember that.
When he just hits like a sick ass J turn.
Yeah, he just hits him. The guy flies into the pillar and dies. It was so fucking cool. And from that moment, I was like, okay, this movie is going to be different a little bit. They're getting more creative with these kills.
Oh yeah, they cranked it up for sure. Yeah, I think the second movie, it just doubles down, and for anyone that's seen all of them, like they each just do that more and more as the movies go on. This movie, I think, is where John Wick as a film starts to kind of take off a bit more, in my opinion, just because they were more heavy-handed with the action and just. Listen, I find when I watch John Wick movies, like I'm smiling because like shit is just so crazy and like unbelievable. You know what I mean? Like you're not laughing because it's corny. You're smiling because it's like, how the hell did they think of that?
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
I'm just happy that someone understood the assignment and just delivered a fantastic action movie.
Yeah, this is exactly what we wanted.
Yeah,
thank you.
They weren't trying too hard. I also love in the opening sequence, the Russian mob boss at this particular spot. He is the brother of Vigo, and he just repeats. he just repeats basically what Vigo said in the first movie. He's like, John Wick's a man of focus, commitment, and then sheer fucking will. And then he talks about the pencil scene again, which I need to see this specific pencil fight that they keep talking about. Although we kind of get that in this movie, but Yeah, I just think it's hilarious that they brought that same story up again. It's just like, who fucking does that? He killed him with a pencil. Who fucking does that? He literally says that. It's so fucking funny.
And then I think too, it's funny how like every movie sort of starts out with like him seeking revenge for something like
that he didn't even
like
want
the
to get
dog.
involved in.
Yeah, exactly. The car, like people just keep fucking with him, and he's like, okay, I guess I have to go kill everyone now.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's get into more of this movie. Let's get into some of the characters actually, because they add a couple more characters in John Wick Chapter 2 that I think I thought specifically added a lot to the movie, where maybe John Wick 1 didn't have as much of a supporting or as good of a supporting cast. I feel like the characters in this movie, the additional characters really brought a lot to it. I was specifically I was a big fan of Santino a lot. I thought that his actor did a great job of just being a fucking asshole.
Yeah, he was just kind of like always a prick the whole time, beginning to end, period.
Yeah. I mean, you hate him from the beginning. I mean, he blows up John's house. Like, this poor guy had his dog killed, car stolen, found a new dog, goes home, and then that home is now destroyed.
Yeah,
but with a grenade launcher.
With a fucking grenade launcher, yeah.
And the dog is fine.
The dog is fine.
I did write that down. The dog is very fine.
He just goes in his trunk and he's like, all right, fuck this. And then just aims a grenade launcher.
It's like
it's one grenade launcher and it just blew up the whole thing.
What I was wondering in that scene though is like, it looked like they're because they're showing John like he's preparing, I guess. I don't know, but did he not expect like that to happen? Like, he should have known that like they were going to retaliate like in that moment. I guess maybe he was just too slow to act, but that felt a little weird that he was caught off guard like that.
Well, it was right after the marker stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly, because he tried to get him to basically uphold his marker. Yeah, and he said like, I'm not getting involved in that again. And then he's like, all right, fuck you, I'm gonna blow up your house.
Yeah, but I just figured that John knew this guy. He knew the system well enough for like, okay, like this person's gonna fucking he's gonna retaliate right now. He's not waiting.
This person has a grenade launcher in his trunk.
Maybe not that specifically, but yeah, I'm sure he should have expected something to happen.
Yeah, well, there are some unrealistic parts to these movies, I guess you could say.
Not just a nitpick, really.
So Santino's a good character. I personally felt like I don't know. Sometimes the actor choice cracks me up, but Cassian,
Common.
Oh my god, yeah.
When he showed up, I was like, "That's fucking Common, bro."
I was like, "Common is in this."
I feel like Common just shows up in random movies that I watch, and I just like I know this guy.
Yeah, he's becoming a lot more common.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I hate that. Yeah.
that was but he's really good. Like he is. Yeah, he really sells his action scenes too. Like he's obviously like he's just athletic. He just he's able to pull off the stunts. And he just he doesn't have to do a lot of acting, but you can just kind of see it on his face. Like there's he respects John. Like there's a mutual respect. Like that's the thing I like a lot with a lot of these fights, especially in the second one, is that there is a mutual respect between a lot of the people. But at the end of the day, they have to do what they got to do. Either it's for monetary reasons, or in John's case, like I need to complete my vengeance. Like my revenge arc needs to be completed at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're all kind of working within the same framework, right? Whatever the Continentals got set up, whatever society they've got going on, like they adhere to those rules. And like I thought that was also cool. I think when we were talking about it earlier, like the fight with Common is the one where they go through the window and suddenly they're in the Continental and they just decide to stop fighting. They're like, I understand, like I just can't continue anymore.
Yeah. Well, they're told
sit at the bar next to each other.
They have to be told to stop, basically. They're all Winston's there, they're all there. And they're like, just have a drink, relax. And then they look at each other, and John's like, it was gin, right? And Common's like, it was bourbon, right?
Just sick, actually.
And then he says, I'll be seeing you. Oh, man. Yeah, so that was a good sequence. And that fight specifically, like, I love that fight between the two of them. It's so white knuckle, but then the whole sequence where they're falling down the stairs is just kind of silly. But
oh my
also,
god,
like,
yeah. They fall down so many stairs.
Yeah.
The scene was about 2 to 3 times longer than I expected.
That was 100% one of the scenes where it's like, how are neither of these guys dead? And like, it's like, it's almost like they didn't want to kill each other.
Yeah, I hope I hope that only took one take or as few takes as possible, because rolling down those steps, whatever stunt performer, or if it was them, it could have been them, but whoever was rolling down those steps, hopefully only had to happen like a handful of times.
Yeah.
50 takes later, we're rolling down the stairs again.
Oh my god. But I will say, that fight ends with my favorite kill of the movie, where John Wick puts the knife right through Common's chest, but it's through his aorta. So as long as the knife stays there, in theory, like he would live.
Yeah.
Or at least prolong his life, but as soon as he removes it is when he would end up basically dying. So it's kind of like a weird, it's like, like in movies where they step on the mine, and then they just have to stand there, and then like, it's like, when you gonna like step off and die?
Yeah, it was John's professional courtesy.
Yeah, well, kind of, yeah. So I felt like that was an interesting kill.
Yeah, this was another one where they were kind of walking through a club also, right? Because this is where he's coming off of the kill on the sister, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. He's leaving the club.
He's leaving the club.
The same shit as the first one happened, where they're just kind of like, well, I mean, this one they got silence pistols, but there's the one where like they're chasing each other. They're walking through the subway station. They're just taking like pot shots at each other.
Oh my god,
in public.
I love that too. That and the stairs. They're just like walking. They're looking at each other, and they're just like, none of the civilians around them have any clue what's happening.
Yeah, which I think I could believe that maybe. What I don't believe is the part where he does put the knife in Common's aorta, and that's like on a subway car, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole fight scene, they show the people on the subway car. They're doing fucking nothing. I understand it's New York and like some shit happens, but there's a man getting stabbed in the heart.
Yeah.
And they're just fine with it.
Yeah, I just looked at that as we're in New York and crazy shit happens on the subway every day. So like these people are just like, oh, another fight, another person getting stabbed in the chest.
I guess
in the aorta.
In Italy in that one. Anyway,
I think that scene takes place in New York because they land in the Continental. Right.
Yeah, but isn't the Continental?
Oh wait, no, you're right. You're right.
That either way, whatever.
Anyway, yeah, they fight in New York and in Rome.
Yeah, I thought it was just so fucking funny. They're walking with people, just pew pew.
Yeah.
I also felt like prior to that part, the fight sequence in the catacombs was pretty cool.
Yeah, you're talking about
that. And that's what I alluded to earlier in our episode here, is there was a point where like he had I don't know if it was the rifle or the shotgun. I think it was the shotgun. It was stashed.
Shotgun, yeah.
I think he ends with a shotgun.
Yeah, and then like he's just like literally mowing these dudes down, just like chopping them off at the knees with the shotgun. It's crazy.
Oh, they have no chance.
Good. So I touched on it a little bit earlier, but that's one of the services provided by the Continental, right? So he went to the one Taylor guy, and that's where you learn that like the suits have modifications done to them. There's like some nano mesh weave technology or whatever the hell to like stop bullets. Like it's basically a Kevlar vest in suit form. But he also has like a sommelier, right?
Yeah.
For the guns. Dude, that's
I love this guy.
So cool.
I love this. The guy that plays the sommelier is I recognize him from other stuff, but he's just like the perfect the perfect actor to play this. He just, with that British accent, he just makes everything sound so cool. And I love it. They're like comparing it to like a wine tasting. There's like, can I have a tasting?
He's the guy from Couples Retreat that Vince Vaughn duels off Guitar Hero against.
Yeah. You're right, man. That's that's hilarious.
Oh my god!
Which is funny to picture him in both those roles, but yeah, I love that part too. I thought that was so cool. Like, again, they're leaning into like, you know, what people want, like the weapons. The weapons are like, they're basically characters in these films.
Yeah.
So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I think the sommelier thing cool. The sommelier thing is pretty cool too. Like Ryan was saying, like it's like, oh, what vintage is this? It's like the year that they made the Deagle or whatever.
Yeah,
it's so sick.
Let's see. Yeah, and he asks for something robust, precise. I just want to use that line, just describing just anything. Yeah, I'll take something robust, precise.
Yeah, next time you whip out an overstable driver on the disc golf course, I'll remind you.
Yeah, that driver is robust and precise with a speed of 12. Way too fast for me.
Else, y'all?
Were there any other characters that we liked, that we thought that were added to this movie that we thought elevated it?
Are we forgetting? Someone get this man a gun.
Get this man a gun. Lawrence, baby.
Yeah,
I was surprised to see him in this. This was my first time watching the second one. When he showed up, I was like, "Oh, you're here?"
Yeah,
and that was after the shock of Common as well. There's just a lot of people showing up in this movie.
So the Bowery King is essentially like, he's kind of like the king of the slums there, basically, and John Wick shows up to him. And I think, you know, he's intrigued by what he's trying to do, you know, kill someone on the high table. So he gives him the 1911 pistol, and it has, I believe, it has 7 rounds for the $7 million, right? So 1 round per million, which I thought that was, you know, pretty interesting.
I think, and I like what they do with this character too, because they throw him in towards the end. They kind of like shoehorn him in the last, like the third act of the movie. But they give him like a little bit of backstory. Like, he's got this scar on his neck from John Wick because he was once a target of John Wick, and John Wick basically gave him a choice. What was it? Basically a choice to live or die. He chose to live, and that's how he's here. So there's automatically like a little bit of like, there's a familiarity there. Obviously, John knows who he is. He knows who John is. And I'd say like a modicum of respect, but also Lawrence Fishburne does not like John. There's a resentment there for sure. But he knows that he needs him. Like, John offers him a very basically an offer he can't refuse. Like, I'll be your gun. Give me the gun. I'll fight your war for you instead of you having to lose all your men.
Right.
It just felt like Lawrence Fishburne just like really ate this role up. I just feel like he was having so much fun playing this character.
Oh yeah, dude. Fucking
I am the king.
Hell yeah.
He's like the glorified version of Pigeon Man from Hey Arnold. It just has.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, he just has his carrier pigeons, which, for what it's worth, is probably the most unrealistic part of either of these movies. Is just like these carrier pigeons. Like, I don't know. I know that I just couldn't really see that. That's the most unbelievable part of the whole. These first 2 movies, for me at least. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, Lawrence Fishburne's so damn good.
Yeah, another character that I didn't think I would like as much as I did is Ares.
Oh yeah,
Ruby Rose.
Yeah, kind of the other antagonist.
Yeah, this was like Santino's right-hand man, right? This is the mini boss fight before the big boss fight, and she was tough. She put up a pretty good fight in that like Hall of Mirrors.
Yeah, but she never had a fucking chance.
Oh yeah. The skill gap was noticeable.
Yeah, and I love her introduction too because she's patting John down in the beginning of the movie and like puts her arm between his legs, and just like the for whatever reason the music like dropped there. It was like, like I don't know what it was like. It was like trying to do like a jump scare, but like she just sticks her arm between his legs, like grabs his ass. So there's like, I don't know, their dynamic throughout the movie is interesting. She just like keeps popping up.
Yeah, and he does not care for her at all.
No, he's like,
he shows her like the bare minimum amount of respect and nothing more.
Yeah, there's like some sort of like more on her end, more of like a kind of like a flirtatious sort of vibe. Like, is she into him? Like, what? not like maybe she's sexually attracted to him, but like at the end of the day, she has a job to do, and she knows like at the end, like they're gonna eventually come to a head. They're
what?
They're gonna have to fight each other.
You got that from this movie? What copy did you see? Oh man,
John Dick.
Well, there we are.
Yeah, that's it. No, and I figured you'd appreciate the ASL part of her character.
Yeah, that was something that was interesting. How they like portrayed that she was like one mute, right?
Yeah,
and I don't believe they exchange words. Or no, John does talk to her at the end, or I guess he only talks to her.
He talks to her, and then there's also
some, yeah,
from
like across rooms.
In the scene after him and Common have the drink at the bar after their fight, and then she's behind him, and then she signs like, "We'll be seeing you," and then he's like, "Unless I see you first."
Yeah,
or not if I see you first, or something like that.
Dude, that was sick,
badass.
And then what else? What else really is there other than the end?
I mean, there's a lot more. Like I would say there's more set pieces in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the club after he kills the sister.
Well, obviously, I mean, technically, he didn't kill the sister.
Sorry. After she kills,
stolen.
She ends her own life, and then he got his kill stolen. But he didn't want to kill her. Like he didn't want to do it, but he had to. She made things easy for him. Yeah. She knew she wasn't getting out of that situation. Like he had the mark. Like he had to fulfill his mark. There's no getting out of that.
Yeah.
And you could tell like they had a history too, which was nice. They always seem to like sprinkle in like this little bit of extra lore for some of these characters, like even if they're in just like a scene.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, John, we were friends at one point. Maybe they were lovers. They were probably lovers at one point.
What?
they probably hooked up before. I don't know.
That's okay. God.
She undresses like right in front of him. So there's some sort of familiarity there.
Yeah. And then, I mean, pretty big plot point here. Towards the end of the movie, Santino decides to seek some asylum at the Continental. Yes?
Yes, he does. He thinks he's going to be safe there because, as we stated before, there's a rule,
no business on Continental grounds.
No blood spilled. Yep.
And
John
he's sitting there like a cocky fucking prick. And what happens to him?
Yeah, he gets domed.
Yeah, cold one right between the eyeballs, basically.
We think. Well, we don't actually see him get shot. We just hear the bullet. We see him shoot him, but we don't see where he gets shot. But yeah, and he's saying like, "Oh, a man can stay here for however long and not eat the same meal twice." Yeah. He's flexing like, "I can stay here for years, and you won't be able to kill me because we're at the Continental."
He's not there for 30 more seconds.
No. And then Winston's like, think before you do it. Like, don't do it, John. Don't do it. We know you want to. Don't do it. He just fucking does it. And then Winston's just like, what have you done?
Yeah. So Winston, well, I mean, Wick disobeyed the rules of the Continental. So Winston's hand was forced. He put out a contract on John Wick.
He did, but he did him a solid.
Yeah. He gave him an hour, right? An hour head start.
1 hour head start.
Dude, that scene gave me fucking chills. The meeting with Winston.
Yeah,
I knew it. I knew it going into it, but there was a part where Winston gives a signal and everybody in the entire park, in the whole shot, just pauses and looks at John Wick.
Yeah.
And then he gives another signal. They all go back about their business. There's no escaping for John Wick. Like, everybody is a plant. Like,
which is
not
wild.
safe. So he's got to fucking run, and run he do.
He do run, although not very fast. I don't think Keanu Reeves is the fastest guy.
The dog's with him, though. That was
the
sick.
dog is with him. But you can tell the dog's kind of pacing himself. It's like, I don't want to get too far ahead of Keanu. Which, again, goes back to me saying the dog in this movie is so well behaved off the leash. Like John does. There's no scene of him training him or anything. He just is off the leash. He just stays close to John. He's such a good boy.
Yeah, it's my headcanon that Keanu trained this dog.
Yeah.
And even if that's not the case, well, I'm still gonna believe that.
I also kind of want just like a short movie of Charon and the dog, or however you say his name, Lance Reddick's character. Just him watching the dog. Like, what?
That'd be sick. Yeah, that could have been a sick after credit scene.
Yeah. Like teaching him how to give paw, or high five, or sit, lay down, roll over. Just give him treats.
Yeah, giving him sparkling water. But it's a dog.
Yeah.
I don't know. That seems like him. Yeah, I mean that's what we got for John Wick 1 and 2, the long-awaited return of all three of us. And speaking of all three of us, one of us is not here at the moment. Could not make it back to the recording just for the end. There's some stuff going on over there. And people keep asking if he's back, and he hasn't really had an answer, but now, yeah, I'm thinking he's back.
Yes, he is back.
Anyway, you can follow us on Instagram. We are at 5 o'clock sweats. On X, we are at 5 o'clock sweats. We're available in video form on YouTube and in audio form on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Anything else?
No, I just want to watch the third one, Chapter 3.
Me too. I've still not seen 3 and 4, but I know that there's some shit ahead of me.
I'm going to be in communication with you. I might be around for a night or two this week, and if you don't watch them, I would love to watch them with you.
Very possible. Well, a warm farewell. That's the word I'm looking for. A warm farewell from the three of us, reunited again. Thanks for sticking with us. I know we missed a week last week. Let's see if we can keep the streak up this time. And
let's do it.
As always, stay sweaty.
Stay sweaty.
Oh, the line where they're where he shows up in Rome the first time, and they're like, "Are you here for the Pope?" And he goes, "No." I'm like, dude, that's so fucking sick. He's on the level.
I
where
love
he's the
that
Pope
line.
Assassin.
Yeah, I love that. I actually had that line written down in my notes because I thought that was hilarious.
Sick,
I loved that.